from the Penn Libraries.
All right, so like I said, this is going to be a very brief overview. We'll start with audience. Now, there's really three different types of standard reporting. There's an overview page, which really gives you snapshots of the different information that you'll find within the rest of the audience reporting area. And the other one is going to be something like location. And this is mostly what you'll see for your data, where you'll have some sort of visualization at the top and then have actual statistics. The way that these are kind of set up is by something called dimensions and another thing called metrics. Dimensions are attributes. Dimensions describe. So for this one, for example, country is going to be your dimension, and these are going to go across the rows. Your metrics measure, and they're going to be all of these different rows that are actually giving you numbers. So that's a good thing to keep in mind. The other thing is to also look up here. You can change your different dates that you want. You can compare different time periods within Google Analytics, which is really interesting. It'll give you percent difference. And for right now, we'll just leave that for the last month. As I said, with our site in particular, that's just giving metadata hits. We get about 1.7 million downloads a year, which equals, about 600,000, 500,000 downloads a month. So this is really just giving us a small snapshot of the people who are actually coming to our site and spending time there. All right, so let's take a little bit deeper look into audience. So as you can see, you can look at country. You can see where people are coming from based on, of course, their country, their city, their continent, or subcontinent. We do have in our, oh, it's not up anymore. In our Google Analytics guide, it does have a quick guide to the different dimensions and metrics, things that I have found useful. And if you ever run into any problems, you can always hover over one of your little question marks and it will remind you what sort of metric or dimension that you are trying to look at. Over here, we also have language. This is telling you what people's browsers are set to as far as language goes. Behavior, you'll also have new and returning. This tells you how many new users are coming to your site versus people that have already been to your site before. Only other thing to mention is that up here, our metrics are also divided into acquisition and behavior, since right now we are an audience. And so it gives you a kind of a grouping of the different metrics and lets you look right across the page and interpret in that way. Frequency and recency tells you how many times someone had a session. Now, a session is someone comes to the site and they can spend an hour on your site and look at 100 pages, but it will just be one session. This is different from page views. And so over here, you can kind of see how that difference plays out and how it goes down as people have had more sessions. Engagement is going to tell you how long people are spending on your site. Because Scholarly Commons is an information resource, that means that we like to have people come into our site, download a paper, find the information that they want right away, and then leave. So having 0 to 10 seconds, 10 to 30 seconds, this is good for us. For another site where you may be working with a blog, somewhere that you want people to engage more deeply with your site, probably not the best thing. For technology, this is going to give you more information about what sorts of browsers people are using. So of course, if you have your own site, you're going to want to make sure that your site works well on every single one of these browsers. Network is also going to tell the service providers that most people are using when they come to your site. And of course, there's also mobile. And the nice thing I find about this is, of course, we want to make sure that people can look at your site on any sort of mobile device they use. We're most popular with the iPhone and the iPad. And you can also click on the picture to get a nice look at what those actually are. And like I said, there are about 3 different sorts of types of reports that you'll see. There's the overview, the standard report like we just saw, and then there's also flows. And these flows can be really useful for drilling down and looking more into your information for each area. So as you can see, this is described by the dimension country. Of course, you can choose other dimensions. And so you can see how people that are coming in from the United States have gone through your website. So for our website, most people from the United States are coming through and looking at our dissertations. And that is going to be their first interaction or their starting page. For their first interaction, a lot of them are going back and doing a search on our site. Each one of these can really be drilled down. So if you click on highlight traffic, You can see how people are interacting with a dissertations as starring page, so where they came from and where they went from after that dissertations page. You can also explore traffic. And so when this comes up, it's just highlighting that dissertations that we were looking at a little bit earlier. So you can see how people got to dissertations and then also their next interactions. Got a little bit smaller, or not. You can see where they come off from there. You can also see group details. So here's all of the details about our dissertations page. And these are the different dissertations that are on it. So obviously this gives us our most popular dissertation. It had the most sessions, the most number of traffic. So that's basically going to be your audience. Acquisition, as I said before, is kind of how users are gained to your site and how to optimize it. So here's the traffic area, and this is going to describe, or we should probably start with channels. Channels is going to tell you the sorts of ways that people get to your site. So organic search, that means it's not a paid search. That means someone's coming into Google or Yahoo or Bing, and they're doing a search, and they're coming to your site from that search. Direct means that they're going straight up to the URL, to the address bar, and typing in your URL. Referral would be, for example, if the library page would link to Scholarly Commons and someone clicked on that from the library page. It has referred them to Scholarly Commons. Social is going to be, of course, Twitter, Facebook. And if for some of the standard reports on Google Analytics, if you click on them, they will actually let you drill down further. So here are all of the social networks that people have used to come to our website. And traffic kind of coming off of that is going to give you this source. So before we saw organic search. So our top one is Google. This is organic search. So most of our users are coming in through Google, followed by direct, Yahoo. Here we have some mixed in referrals. And this will really be able to tell you more about, once again, how people are getting to your site, what sorts of websites are referring you. We do have Wikipedia on here, so if you are able, you can go in, if you edit Wikipedia, you can go in, maybe add some more links to your site. All right, so next we have all of our referrals. And I found this really useful. For example, we realized that we had a spike of about 2,000 people a day on a dissertation that was getting maybe one hit a year. It was about 15 years old. So coming into Google Analytics, I used the referral area to realize that the New York Times had linked to our site. And so suddenly this dissertation became extremely popular for that duration. And so for each one of these referral networks, you can also see where that referral is coming from. So this is coming from networks.bpress. Scholarly Commons is on proprietary third-party software that's created by bpress. So if you go to networks.bpress.com, explore, you'll see quite a few referrals to our site. And keywords is also a great way to help with search engine optimization and also see what people are actually typing into your different sources in order to find your site. And then, of course, there's social. And so these are a bit more of your, I guess, alt metrics area of the website. You can see how many times someone has come in from Facebook, how long they stayed there, etc. And I really like this data hub. Google Analytics has a few data hub partners, which you can see up here. And once you come down to your data hub area, you'll actually be able to see how people are talking about your site, why they've been linking to it. So for example, if we look at this comment from a Google group, you could read through it, see what people are talking about, and then realize later on that, oh, here's a paper that describes the DMPR model, and it's linking to Scholarly Commons. So I found that really useful. And also at the top, if you click more, you'll actually be able to view the page that this referral is coming from on the data hub, view the activities, see what other people have commented on, etc. Landing pages, once again, this is going to be the landing pages these that people came into from social networks. So people came into this dissertation from perhaps Facebook. Trackbacks are going to kind of drill down specifically to what the endorsing URL was, so wherever the Google group or whatever it was, and what page exactly they were referring to that brought people to your site. And then, of course, once again, you can do a user flow. Search engine optimization is also extremely useful. So the first area is queries. These are the things that people have, once again, put into a different search engine to find your site. But this is different from the area that we looked at before with keywords because it gives you different metrics. So if you look over here, we have impressions, clicks, average position, and CTR, or the click-through rate. So impressions are going to be how many times your site appears in Google search results if you type in, for example, hybridity. And so that'd be 1,000. This is how many times someone clicked on on a link that led to your site that had to deal with hybridity. This is the average position. So if someone typed hybridity into Google, it'd probably come up around 4 or 5. And the click-through rate is telling you how many times someone clicked on it based on the total number of impressions. It's the same thing with landing pages. And this really allows you to kind of drill down and look at specific pages on your site and where they are positioned. And geographical summary is going to tell you how many impressions, clicks, click-through rate that you have by country. And so finally, we'll look at behavior. And so as I said, behavior is really how your site is working and how people are using it. Site content is going to give you all of the pages on your site by their most popular. Our most popular is our home page. Give me different page views for that. Then, of course, there's content drill down, and this will allow you to look at higher level areas and what people went to through from there. So, for example, dissertations. Dissertations is a higher level page in Scholarly Commons, and here's the most popular areas of the dissertations. Once again, landing pages, this will allow you to drill down based on what page people came into your site on and where they went from there. And exit pages. So exit pages are going to be when people left. Site speed is going to give you, first of all, average page load time or whatever sort of metric that you want. So you can see where some of your pages, like for example our communities page, is loading at a pretty low rate. And then you can go to speed suggestions, and it will actually give you suggestions and things you can do within your source code to really make your site a little bit faster. So for example, here's our home page, and we have 7 page speed suggestions for that. It'll analyze the page, and it gives you different varying things that need to be fixed. The other useful thing I found in behavior is going to be your site search. Now this is different from people finding your site. This is how people are going within your site. So this is telling you how many times someone was on our site and decided to search, how many times that they didn't search. Here are the search terms that they used within our site once again. And so of course, if you're having a lot of site searches, perhaps for a keyword, or they're coming in from a certain page, and doing a site search, that probably means that you need to go back, look at that page, and see if you can really help your users find that information more easily. So those are just the very basics of the standard reports you can do. Going back up here, your dashboard and shortcuts will actually give you ways to customize it. I like to come into Google Analytics at least a couple of times a month, usually once a week. So I've customized a dashboard with different reports that I'm interested in, so I can come in, do a quick check, and leave. Same thing with shortcuts. On any of the pages, you can do a shortcut such as source. This is to a custom report I created. Allows you just a little bit easier way of navigating the site. And then intelligence events. Intelligence events are really useful because it will tell you when something has happened on your site that is out of the ordinary. So based on all of the other months, for some reason we had a lot more people coming in from Canada spending a lot of time on our site. And so, once again, that's a good way for you to be able to go through and see why you've been having so much activity and how you can maybe reproduce that. And real time, I think, personally, is just kind of a fun thing to look at. It's telling you how many people are on your site right now. So these are all the people looking at metadata pages, where they're coming from, what they're doing. This will actually bounce around on Google Earth to show you the different people in the world. And it's fun to just kind of come in here and really track a user and see how they're moving through your site. Will that help overall? Maybe, maybe not, but it can be really useful to help you get to know your user. So I'm going to leave it off there. Like I said, we do have our Google Analytics guide that will really give you more information about the dimensions, about the metrics, and of course about these different areas of the standard report. But really what I would suggest if you're just getting started with Google Analytics is going through and just playing around. Start changing your dimensions, start changing your metrics, go and create custom reports, really figure out what is going to be most useful for your site. Because like I said, each site is going to be extremely individual, and you really have to figure out how you can use all of this massive amount of data to really drill down and meet your needs. Thank you.
See if I can get this to work. Let's see.
So how many people are already familiar with Google Analytics or kind of use it on a day-to-day basis? Events.
Come on.
One time a year we use like just long enough to forget how to get
Quick starts. Computer. How about that? Oh, is it laptop? External desktop. Oh, laptop. Yeah, that would be it. Come on. Oh, I didn't activate. There we go. Knew I'd get it eventually. All right, so there's a little bit in here that's sort of developer specific, and then so I'm trying to touch on just a little bit beyond the basics of analytics. Some of the things we've been doing that I think are interesting. So there'll be two parts. If you're not a developer, the first part will be boring. It's how we did it. The second part of each one will be what insights we got from doing it. So, you can take it back to your IT team and say, I know this is possible. Get it done. I'm Lou. That's Sanjay. We both work for Knowledge at Wharton, which is the Wharton School's online business journal. We run a variety of sites in a variety of languages, all about business. So I know we're short on time, so I'll go right into it. One of the first kind of advanced features of analytics that we've been using is what used to be called custom variables. When Google updated their analytics tracking code, they changed it to dimensions, but they effectively do the same thing. It's with each page view on your site, you can add additional information about that hit. So for us, every time you view an article, we also tag it with what topic that article is in, what regions the article is in, the article age, and finally whether or not you're logged in or not. So these things all go to analytics with the collection of that page view, which lets you do some stuff with it.
We should add topic and region are our main navigation kind of avenues. So you can basically consume our content based on one of 7 topic areas. We also have the site broken down by regional coverage. So that became how do we associate all of our content or clicks with main navigation elements of the site.
So in the case of topics, it's a one-to-one relationship. An article can only exist to one topic, so that was an easy one. With each page view, we just store the name of the topic in the topic variable. Regions is a little more complicated because one story can span multiple regions of the world. So in that case, what we do technically is we just store a comma delimited list of the IDs, which makes it a little bit trickier because you have to go back and say, oh, 398, what's 398? 398 is North America. We didn't put the names in there because they could have potentially gotten so long that they would overrun the maximum value for that field. So what can you do with this? You can do things like this and say now, from analytics, we can pull a report that says, in December, what was our most popular topic? And unfortunately for the social impact people, social impact was not high on people's minds during the holidays, I guess. I know. So that's one thing we can do. We can filter our content down by category right inside of analytics, and look at things like this. Another thing you could do is compare two regions, compare traffic across regions. So this is another example. This is December. This is stories in Asia Pacific and stories in Europe. You can see that our Asia Pacific content is generally performing a little bit better, except for that one day where we had a spike, and there must have been one European story that did quite well that day. We probably published a new story. But that's another thing you can do. You can do charts and graphs and look at regions. You can overlap them, regions in a topic and things like that, now that you have that data in there. The other really, I thought this one was pretty interesting, metric that we store is called article age. This is different from the date that a story is published because this stores how long it's been since the story was published when someone reads it. So over the course of one story's lifetime, it will exist in the new bucket, which is I'm less than 2 weeks old, the middle age bucket, which is I'm 2 weeks to a year, and the old bucket, so I'm over a year old. So if a story that's 3 years old on the site, it will actually have hits in each of these categories. But why it's interesting is that it gives you a level playing field for comparing new content. Because our articles, they're available forever, so a story that's 5 years old will have picked up a long tail of search results. Google doesn't really start sending traffic to some of our older content until it's been on the site for a while. So if you want to say, in the last 2 years, which stories have really done well when we first published them, now you can answer that question because you can look at just traffic to all your content, but only when that content was less than 2 weeks old.
And I'd add that a lot of these very specific dimensions or dynamics came up because we wanted to know, well, what was the most read article for the last year? And we get a list, and it's great, except you start realizing that there's a 14-year-old article in it. And so the next question our editors have are, well, what are the most popular articles that were published in the last year? And so every time we answered a question, it basically forked off more questions about how to get better and better insights. So a lot of this stuff is happening through this questioning process and getting better data and getting more accurate of what we're looking for.
So an example of this is if you pulled the second half of this past year and you looked at the top 3 articles by page views. You have a MasterCard story, you have a story about stubborn obstacles, and you have a Walmart's dress code story, which is all well and good until you realize that stubborn obstacles was actually published in 2010. So it's not necessarily what stories did the best when they were first published. If you put that filter on there that we've added, you get a different list. You can see the story 2 has actually been replaced with a MOOC story for the year. Because I was curious, I went and looked up why, and the reason was, if you look at the second half of last year, you can see that stubborn obstacles story was picked up on Reddit for about 1 day, and it sent almost 20,000 people to that story in a day. So we're looking at our numbers and we're like, what the heck is this story doing up here? And it would mess up your reporting later when you're trying to find trends and things like that. So that's why we do that one. And you can even look at your content, sort of how people are using it too. So this is the traffic numbers for news stories. Looks like this is November. That is the old stories, which you can see has more of a weekly shape. And then that's the middle-aged content, which sort of follows the archive content shape. You can see that nothing performs better than new content, but only once a week, and that is when we send our email newsletter. If you're in the back end, this is a tip for using these things. When you get these things back there, what you want to do, and this is something you'll just have to look up to figure out how to do, is define segments in the back end of analytics. You can define what they call segments for yourself, or you can share them with your team and with people. And this is how you'd use this, or you can even use any of the built-in analytics metrics and segments. And you get this little drop down across the top where you can say, I'm looking at page views, but I want to see, I want them broken up into these 3 segments. And you actually get 3 lines on your chart instead of 1. So you can compare these things. It's helped me solve we're storing those numerical IDs. So I just defined a segment that says this, for my segment that's North America, it says that field has to have 298 in it or whatever that number was. And then I can just do a click and I can view it very easily. When you do stuff like that, now you have segments, you can actually cross-reference it with all the standard Google Analytics metrics, and you can start to get deep dive sort of reports like this, where you can say, okay, for article age, or for traffic coming from just organic search, what are people looking at? And you can see people are mostly looking at our older content. 75% of people visiting the site via search are hitting an article that's over a year old in November. People coming from social media are 61% hitting articles that were published in the past 2 weeks. This is not surprising, but we can quantify this now. Another example is if we filter down to traffic from Asia Pacific, and we run the analytics report on the, I believe it was shown earlier, the kind of like the global map. So what are the top 5 sources for stories in our Asia Pacific region? And the surprising thing about this is that India, well, maybe it's not surprising, but there's a lot of traffic from India to that section, whereas if you look at it globally, India is less than 10% of our total traffic. So that is dimensions and how we use them. Another feature I wanted to mention quickly, let me see, I got a couple minutes, is we use something called analytics events. For the technical, these are JavaScript events you can fire off with the Analytics API asynchronously when things happen on the site. So we use analytics to track if people click any of our social media buttons, we fire an analytics event. If someone clicks an outbound link, we fire an analytics event. And then we have a recurring event that tracks time on page. And finally, I think the coolest one is something we use that we call scroll depth. So scroll depth is, if someone loads, our articles are usually quite long. So if someone loads the page, that is an article. It's the biggest I can make it on there. We break the page into segments. And we fire these analytics events at key points during the page. So 25, 50, 75, bottom of the page. And then that's useful. We also wanted to know article start and article end, so we added 2 more for that. So as you're scrolling down this article, these events are firing. So now we can answer questions like, if someone reads to the halfway point of the article, how likely are they to finish it? We can answer those questions now. It also, for us, it gave us a much better idea of how much time people are spending on the site. Because what we've noticed of our traffic is that our stories are long, people tend to come and just read one. So you didn't get a very good measure of how long people were staying on the site. But if you fire events, as people are manually doing things to move themselves down the page, you know what, they're still here. They hit the 75% mark 3-4 minutes into reading this article. You get a much better idea of how long it takes people to read your articles and how long they're actually spending on the site. This is the social media group, so I figured the simpler one is just firing an event when people use your social media buttons. If you have custom buttons, fire events. You can say, in December, we had 833 clicks on the Twitter button, top one there, and 412 on the Facebook. So people are twice as likely to use the Twitter button than they are on the Facebook button, at least in December. And finally, just to wrap it up, we make use of the API from analytics to do programming against our data that's stored there. They have a software development kit for most major languages, or you can just interact with it directly from JavaScript in the browser. You can use this to combine your analytics there with information from other places and sort of end up building a dashboard, which is what we are going to show quickly now. If I can get this. Do it?
You want to pull up the
Sure. So this is a dashboard we've been working on. We haven't actually released this to our team yet, but we've been reviewing it internally. It's actually going out to the team this week, and then it will be, I guess, considered live. But here's something we built that uses analytics data in addition to other data.
So like Lou mentioned, we publish every 2 weeks. We send out a newsletter that goes out via Constant Contact. And Constant Contact has its own API for giving those results on each newsletter campaign. And basically what we found is with analytics, the best way to use it is to start figuring out what questions you want to answer, about your site. It's about gaining specific insights, because you need to monitor something over time. It's almost a campaign to know whether a change that you've made is helping or hurting, or and see how it performs over time. I mean, a lot of our, I imagine our readers are working, and then they've got kind of life changes. A lot of teachers use our site. So we see definite patterns, especially when you watch us over years, where there's kind of a slowdown in the end of December or the beginning of December, and then it picks up again in January. Likewise, the summer months, we tend to lose the academic traffic. So there's little things like that you kind of watch over time. What we decided to do was make a dashboard for basically everybody on our team who had a question, whether it's an editorial person, a marketing team member, whether it's information that we've just always wanted and we've always went and grabbed. And what we decided was to put it all in one place. Our finance folks, they've got specific questions that they're asking for out of Google Analytics. We decided to throw everything in the kitchen sink into this one dashboard. And so this is going to be like the kickoff of really interesting kind of questions and insights that we can pull on an ongoing basis. So then we can really be, very thorough in the decisions we make. And I know Sarah mentioned earlier, like there's you can look at, say, browser information. Well, when we did a redesign 2 years ago, we heavily looked at that to say, well, here is a trend for the US edition of our site, which had X number of Internet Explorer, 8 browsers. And some ways you can kind of prove, well, yeah, we need to keep supporting those people. The other thing you can take from that and say, well, that's less than 1% of our overall traffic. So I'm going to recommend that we actually try and do all these new things using more, modern browsers, and figure out a path for it to degrade nicely for that older browser, but not kind of handicap the whole site for the lowest common denominator. So the analytics data can be used to kind of answer any of the questions that you're looking for. You just got to really, kind of put it in the right framework, I think. And a good example, now this isn't full Google Analytics data, but it's actually a question that I've always had. And so in the newsletter, what I've always wondered is we send this mailer out every 2 weeks. And I've always been curious if position in the newsletter impacts the reading. Like, is there an anchor effect? Is there, how's this work? So, we've only done this for a couple of these, but looking through this, I've been able to, I can kind of get a good feeling that, let me grab these 4. Just going to grab the data from there. But if you look at these distributions, there's only one of those newsletters where, the number 1 position was the most read, and that was on the 26th. And, actually, I'm going to hide these. So to me, these distributions show that, like in, let's see, December 3rd, 1, 2, and 6 were the 3 most read articles in the newsletter. So this is just like enough information to say, okay, well, I don't think it matters. Like, I think people are finding the content. We also send the same newsletter to our U.S. readership, and then we also have like an international readership. It's all of our English-based sites. When we merge them into one site, when we do our redesign, there's another big thing we got to talk about is being consistent over time. So as you make changes, as your product grows, Google Analytics doesn't care. It's going to keep reporting and tracking the same numbers. So you got to try and find ways of making notes and understanding where changes to the way the site functions and how that's going to reflect the way Google Analytics interprets that data. So in the case of this, we kind of track the U.S. edition and then the international edition of that same newsletter. And I can actually chart how a mix of articles did with the U.S. readership versus an international readership. And we do see little changes. You can see that, there may be international stories definitely get more views over there. And entrepreneurship is big over there. It may not be as much here, that kind of stuff.
Last thing I wanted to throw out just about using the API is that if you're trying to make this more consumable for everyone, combining sources with the analytics data is useful. Even this page, which is just, This is like a week, look at 1 week of traffic, give me the top 10 pages and traffic sources. What you tend to see in analytics is these slugs aren't, they're somewhat usable, but some readable, but sometimes they're not, and it's not all the information. So we pull the top 10 articles from the week from analytics, and then we use an API we have on the site to say, what's the actual article at this URL, get the title, when it was published, combine that information, and give a more easy to read picture of the analytics data.
Yeah, our job is, what we're trying to accomplish with this is put as much information into the hands of the editorial team, the marketing team as possible, so they can look at this over a period of time and easily kind of track, you know, the changes and the trends that they see that's happening. A couple of things I did want to note before I forget. Analytics is not 100% accurate, but it's the same amount of inaccurate for everybody. So it is the industry standard. There are limitations, you know, if like JavaScript is blocked, it's not going to fire, but it's that same, you know, I mean, it's the same for everybody. So that's why Google Analytics is the industry standard. But to expect this is exact data, I wouldn't be that comfortable to say that. We do find that, you know, we have a lot of corporate readership. A lot of their firewalls block, you know, certain types of sites. It blocked the downloading of the tracking links that we put in our email newsletter. So we understand that if Google is comfortable acknowledging this is a floor to the number of clicks. You know, I wouldn't say it's the ceiling. You know, so I always go with that. I feel comfortable with this number being a baseline for a lot of the stuff that's being, or the traffic that the site is serving. That's it.
Yep, I think that's it. I think we're supposed to leave some time for questions, so thank you.
So I work for the University Life Division. I know Penn is huge, but just to give a background. And we have 30 departments under our division. It's mostly like the cultural centers, career services, basically anything that's not academic. And so we run off of a CMS, and all the departments have Google Analytics associated with their sites. And our department spends so much time updating their websites, and I always tell them no one's really going to your sites. I mean, it's almost as if it's a brochure that people are going to see La Casa Latina just to see like where they're located. But the departments are spending a ton of time. So I guess my question to you is there a way I could give them the information to say, like all of our websites will automatically, our homepage is the VPUL website, and does that mean that that's considered a reoccurring user? Like, does that, I guess what I'm trying to say.
No, I think so. There's, if you talk, I think what you're asking is,
like, I know we're not. Yes,
yeah.
Is that going to seem as if there's someone coming to your site every single day? But it's not. It's just my homepage opens up to your site.
So one thing we did get to pull up there was if you Google Google Analytics. What's the thing? There's actually a great walkthrough that Analytics actually offers a training program that kind of makes all this stuff explicit. But basically, what you're looking at are unique sessions. So the first time somebody comes in, that's going to count as a session, right? Now a session is, I think, 3 hours they reset. So if I come back to the site, open up a new browser, say, 3 hours and 10 minutes later, that's going to count as another session, okay? But that's still only going to be one unique visit because it's the same IP address, so the same browser. Google, there's a great, Google has a lot of good tutorials that really make it explicit and break down what a session versus a visit, or they've kind of changed some of the terminology, but there's a lot of good tutorials out there. They do try and prevent that kind of stuff from happening, and that's where the using uniques is actually very important.
Okay.
The one thing I wanted to add is within Google Analytics, you can have as many sub-accounts as you want. So you might want to think about having a separate I don't know what.
properties, I think they call it.
No,
So you have a
they're
main
thinking
account.
about a different tag. You use a different asset tag for each center, and then you would be able to see at one look how each one was doing.
Okay.
Right, so when Sarah logged in, she showed you only the scholarly comments, but if she goes back to her main Google Analytics, she could have many different sections set up. So for us, for example, we have our website and our blog, and another website that we used to have. So at one look, I can see how each of them is doing. So in your case, if you have multiple people, they can add you as an administrator so that you can see all of theirs.
And you can set different privileges also. And for each individual port, you can, I'll show you down here, you can set up like an email that can go to people. So if you want them to know how they're doing like once a month or something, you can email it and set up a frequency like weekly, daily, what day you want to send to them. And they'll get a different report based on, for example, right now, location. I think I was just going to mention really quickly is that somewhere around here we have we've outlined a bunch of help for so most of these lead to different Google Analytics areas that Sanjay was talking about that will give you more information on how to do some customization and how to the step-by-step to really set up your site like you want it.
It's called the
we go.
Google Analytics Academy. And it's actually a program that Google offers for people to kind of get certified if they really wanted to and be a Google Analytics professional. And so that's out there, but it's actually a great training to go through just to get familiar with the changes.
And last time I checked this, I don't know, it was for Google Analytics Classic, where I'm using Universal. I don't know about you guys, but
Next.
okay.
Depends on the
Would you talk a little bit about how Google Analytics either changed your process or your content? For example, you talked about the scroll depth and how you could break that into sections. And so did your analytics or research show that maybe only X amount of people were reading articles to maybe the 50% line, and so maybe you had your writers write shorter articles, or?
So I'll say that we haven't unleashed this data on our editorial team. Rachel,
I can give an example though of something that did work.
Yeah, they all have. Everyone has analytics access. They just don't have the fancy pants dashboard yet.
But we had done a presentation that Lou had done a while ago about essentially looking at the analytics and showing which topic categories basically got us the most bang for our buck. So it didn't matter, for example, if we had something be under finance versus marketing, because a lot of stories could really be under 2 or 3 or even any topic category, sometimes depending on what they're about. And one of the things that he found is that we got more quote-unquote bang for our buck. For example, management stories tended to do really, really well. Or I think marketing was another one that tended to do well, better than the others. And so it really made me think, when I'm picking a topic category for something, it did make me think more about, okay, well, I could put this in one or the other, but maybe I'd rather put it here because it's getting more eyeballs here.
Did it also impact how you title your stories, for example?
Yeah, I mean, we've been working on that anyway, just in terms of trying to be better about SEO. So we've had some SEO tools that they have put into our content management system just to make us a little more aware of that and a little more aware of keywords and that sort of thing. So I guess that's been part of it too, is just kind of being more aware about what we title something and what people might be searching for and that sort of thing.
And the other interesting thing I didn't actually show is there's also in-page analytics. We actually redesigned our website almost a year ago now, and we used in-page analytics to see that this is showing you like how many times someone's clicking somewhere. We saw that like no one was clicking down here, so we moved a lot of our quick links to the top bar. So that's another way.
It did actually, analytics informed our redesign as well, in that when we were looking at things, we realized people weren't really, we had a very long top category system, at like 14 categories, and when we looked at the analytics, it turned out no one was using them, which is one of the reasons we simplified it to 7.
Yeah, we did that too.
One of the other things we realized is that so much of our traffic comes from search that although the homepage is important for a first impression, most people are landing on an article page. So when we did our redesign, the key component of it all was redesigning the article page to be as user-friendly as possible, because that was everyone's first impression.
So here's a chart I wanted to bring, looking at time earlier, which was, so we've been doing analytics since 2007, 2008, and when we did the redesign, one of the things that we lost was the ability to add more related content. So back in, I think, 2010 maybe, what we started doing was, in the early part of the article, have related articles, related content. So people are coming in on a search, they read some portion of this article, and then there's already there a jump off to related articles and other relevant content. The way the site design worked out, that got bumped down to lower in the bar, and it falls right after the end of the article, not the 100% of the page, but the end of the actual article. And what you can see is our page views per session has dropped since then. So one of the things that we are now looking at is how do we work it into this design to get either related content embedded into the article in certain places or have it show up in some other ways. So that's one of those things that we've noticed is a trend that's happening. But due to the way these analytics are working, we're also finding that people are spending longer on the site, and whether it's how much of that is video related. We're starting to get better at it, but I'm not comfortable enough to say I really understand that this causes this. Yeah, we need to do a lot more testing. This is relatively new. This level of detail has just been implemented by us. So.
This is sort of a basic question, but can you just explain the difference between sessions, users, and page views?
All right, so we kind of explained sessions a little bit ago. It's when someone comes in and there's that 3-hour window and they could have, spent an hour and gone to 5 different pages. So that's one thing. Page views is going to be how many times someone hit that page. And the users is going to be by IP address. So you can have a user with multiple sessions. Say, they were on there for 6, there was one person that was on there for 6 hours, that would count as 2 sessions because you hit that limit, or maybe they close it out and then, they came back to a different day. That would still be one user because it's the same IP address.
All right, so one session can have multiple page views.
Yeah. Users, or page views is always greater than sessions, which is always greater than your number of users.
Should be.
Things aren't right if that's not the case, because
Or something's working really, really well.
I have a question for you guys about the tracking for the social media. Are you using the regular event tracking with the on-click for those links, or do you have some sort of...
So this is just for our social media buttons, which are triggered by clicking on. So it's on click. We can't actually say if you shared it or not after you clicked on that because you're in a new window off the site.
Are you using Google the on-click JavaScript on the anchor tags themselves? Is that how that is being recorded in analytics?
Yes. Well, so the click handler for that button, fires off that asynchronous tracking event.
And in the code, are you actually adding that to the code in line, like as an on-click for the anchor tag, or do you use some other sort of script to record that?
I think it's a click handler in jQuery for the page with the class of social media button or something like that.
So it's actually using JavaScript to assign that on-click to those anchor tags as opposed to inline.
Yeah, that sounds right to me. I think we did it about a year ago.
Can we make the link on-click? So we have an on-click.
Some of it might be in line now that I'm looking at this.
Something new to Google Analytics as well is the social plugins. I don't know if this will help at all since I'm not the proprietor. I don't deal a lot with being able to add events, etc. But I would suggest also going and checking out there because you can now track those social plugins.
Well, it's actually the social media icons are just an example. We've been using the event tracking in different places, but we're moving into a content management system where we're not going to be able to go in and add that to a specific link. So we're trying to figure out a way, like using jQuery to, maybe a class or an ID tag to say, all right, these are, it's a certain type of link, so it automatically gets the on-click, but then you have to find a way to dynamically, the different variables that get sent back to analytics figure out what they are, whether it's like the page and things like that, so.
For a website where you do want people to stay and read the articles and not just come in and download, is there any kind of like industry standard in terms of bounce rates or time spent on the site that can help you evaluate whether people are spending a decent amount of time?
I don't know about any industry standards, but I mean, based on what you guys showed before, like if it takes you 3 or 4 minutes to read an article, that's one thing. In my personal experience, like I said, we do have different videos and 3 miles, etc. on our website that are embedded. So we like looking at how long someone spent on those pages. So for example, if a video is 3 minutes and 26 seconds long, someone spends 4 minutes on that page, probably means that they looked at the video. They spent 3 minutes or 2 minutes, it might mean that they partially did it. That's kind of what we use. And like I said, our bounce rates are high, and we're fine with them being high. But it's so individual to your site.
Yeah.
If you guys want to add.
Just somewhere in analytics, somewhere they ask you what industry you're in, but I forget if they ever share that data back to you.
Yeah, it's supposed to optimize it. They're trying to optimize their different industry settings, but I haven't seen anywhere else.
I found that my personal experience is no one wants to share that data with you unless it's like really awesome, and then they're just bragging.
We have 0 bounce rate. Everyone just lives on our site.
Does the session duration take into account, like, you know, some people just click the link and it's like open and they have 30 tabs open and they never actually look at it? Like, is there any, you know, I might have something open all day, but I didn't actually engage with it ever.
Well, I would say Google, unless you do something extra, Google's not going to know what you do until you do something else. So if you click a page and you left it open for a year and then you closed it, Google would consider that a bounce because as far as they're concerned, you didn't do anything else on the site. So we were curious about that, which is one why we did the scroll depth, and another event we have is an asynchronous timer that fires events. So every 30 seconds you're on a page, we fire an event. It's called a non-interactive event, so Google does not take that into account when they're figuring out session durations. But we were curious, and it's interesting. I mean, you get people that literally pull up the page, and it's just open for hours and hours and hours. And it's like, man, I wish Google was getting that because our time spent on site would be like days. But you know, they don't see anything again until someone does something.
And that's also kind of how they track a duration per page. So if someone comes down the start page and then they move to the next page, that will tell you how long there was a session for that first page. But they could stay on that second page like all day, and unless they go to another page, you won't know how long they stayed on there because there won't be another event, like he was saying. But that, as I was going to say, also goes into your page views.
But that wouldn't count as a bounce.
Yeah. At least that person wouldn't be a bounce.
Yes, as soon as they go to a second page on your site, it's not I'm here and I'm out.
It's not a bounce, but you won't get a time on that second page until they go to the third page.
Yeah. It's another page or it's an interactive event. So if someone hits play on a video player, you can make that an interactive event that says, this is something else that they did. This isn't something that happened without their interaction.
You mentioned with your dashboard that for people who had certain questions for your finance group and this group and that group, who takes precedence over what you decide to track? And how did you start having those questions? Did you engage all the different divisions, or did you first give them some kind of straw model and say, these are the types of things that we can track for you?
I mean, for us, I would say that if you're installing analytics, the main thing you're tracking are the analytics, the analytics stuff. You're looking at visitors, page views, sessions, session duration, pages per visit, and bounce rate. Those are like the big 6 that Google's putting in your face on almost every page you go to. And then for us, I mean, we're a publication, so we cared about article popularity, but someone like finance or business unit they might just care about how many people are visiting the site a year. So our policy, we want it to be, if it's information that we're getting from analytics or if it's something we can get in there for you, we want to be as transparent as possible and make this available. But there's also stuff analytics just doesn't do well. So if someone came and said, you know, I want to know how many people stop watching a video halfway through and then do a search. It's like, now this is getting complicated.
A lot of this was us automating some of these reports that people were asking for on an ongoing basis. It's like, all right, you know what? Let me Google this for you, kind of thing. And also, it was just, things that we were curious about, like the newsletter. When we did a newsletter redesign, it was like, this was one thing that's I've been wanting to do for years.
Yeah.
And we just had a window to really focus on it, just trying to get a good starting point, I know one of the things that we did, is that recent list? Yeah. This is a great example of something that, I know when we went live with this, it was really important to Lou. He's like, we got to make sure that all of the site gets updated on an ongoing basis. So this was I think this one might have been the first thing that he built.
See, the first thing I ever put on the dashboard was how fresh is the content in all of our major topics and all of our major regions. And if you want to go see what the story was, you can just say, okay, 7 days ago we published How One German Retailer. But some of it was just this is stuff, people should know. So let's just get it in front of them.
A lot of it starts with just solving a simple problem. Of just knowing, hey, we should have something that tells us, or, make sure all the sections of the site are being updated. Just because the RSS feeds get really old, it doesn't get syndicated, we lose Google juice that way. We don't want to do that. So a lot of it comes from this is actually all part of our SEO strategy, the titles. Somebody asked about how do we write the titles. Our whole strategy has been, let's get, shorter titles so we can reuse these on Facebook, and when it auto-populates in Twitter or Facebook, it looks like it's written for that media. We used to have really long article titles, and they would never fill, they would always get cut off on the pre-population fields,
They were really long, our titles. They're for 2, sometimes 3 lines every article. It was amazing.
But even now,
It was like a statement, a colon, and then a question. That was every one of our titles.
well, even though with the redesign though, because the other thing with the redesign is it took the homepage, now the top story, it's a much smaller space where the title can live. So now
Can't
if you
fit
write one
the
and you
3-line title
you
anymore.
write one, you bounce down to that 3rd line, you're like, yeah, must fix.
I'm not going to say
It
that
looks
wasn't on
really bad.
purpose.
All right. Well, if there's no other questions, thank you for coming. And of course,